Hello and welcome to the special budget edition of ET Now Startup Central. I'm coming to you from CoWorks here in Bengaluru, and joining me are a set of entrepreneurs who will discuss their expectations from the Finance Minister. Has the government done enough to put startup on the roadmap? Has the Startup India mission, which the government pioneered, has that paid off? Let's discuss a host of issues. All eyes on the budget day after tomorrow to see how much does entrepreneurship figure as far as the government is concerned and the budget is concerned. Guys, thank you so much for taking out the time and joining us on ET Now. Coming to you, Startup India was supposed to be a clarion call for starting up entrepreneurship, something that we haven't seen a government address in the longest time. So has the ease of doing business, has the ease of starting up, so to say, improved on the ground?
Hi, I'm Harsh from Arive. We are a tech-based interior designing company. And coming to your question, I would say ease of business is not that easy right now. We are still facing a lot of problem when we are just filing GST for interstate. We have a office in Mumbai, and when we came down to Bangalore and we wanted to have a GST registration, it took us about more than 2 months to just get that GST certificate. Although we had the original GST from Mumbai, so I don't think so. It has been properly addressed.
So there's a lot more the government has to do to ensure that starting up is made. Because we have also seen concerns around ease of shutting down. A lot of startups who want to shut down in India find it so much more difficult because the success rate clearly is low. Coming to you, tell us what do you do and what do you expect the Finance Minister to announce this time?
Yeah, thanks Rahul. Thanks for this platform. And I too am Rahul Nene. I run an investment advisory. And my belief is that lots have been done in this last 4.5 years. I think intent is much more important than action. And from what is relevant to our business, I think one important thing, apart from the other matters of investing or fund of funds and so on, or startup, I think one very important thing that has happened and has impacted a lot of people at the startup level related to investment advisory is the long-term capital gains tax, which has been kicked in last year, which has not been there. Is what is important to understand is what is the significant impact that's going to happen by bringing in LTCG, and if that can be taken back, how would it impact overall investments?
You see a lot more people be open to investing.
Yeah, there is enough happening. I mean, if you consider today's situation, it is only today that mutual funds have been, it's only now after 25 years of mutual funds being in existence that people have started flocking to it. There is some critical mass that has happened. People are moving into, looking at investment as a scenario for a long-term capital building. In that scenario, having a LTCG being thrust on these people who anyways have been very wary of it, is like putting a little more penalties for bringing in monies into the stock market. But that is one part. More importantly, my belief is after having done 4.5 years or 4 years of good governance, good work, macroeconomic development, keeping the fiscal deficit in check, current account deficit in check, my only belief or my only hope is that the government does not go the way the dialogues were declared yesterday, wherein universal basic income is bought in, or a huge amount of populism should not happen. Other than that, I think this is going to be a vote on account budget. Not much is going to be happening out of it, as long as it does not kind of mess up everything what has been done.
Got it. So a specific area in your investment space that you would want the government to address. Coming to you, you're the lone women voice, so to say, among a bunch of entrepreneurs. You'd also be talking for a lot of women entrepreneurs out there. We've seen the government talk about how they want to push women entrepreneurship. It's not easy considering the workforce also women, has been trickling down. There are challenges. What do you really look forward to as an entrepreneur, but also as a women entrepreneur in the space?
Yeah, I started Keyings, which is my organization's name, in 2016, April 2016. And since then, I have been trying to register for Startup India. So, and I have always been unsuccessful doing that due to some reasons and, due to some problems that you face on the websites, or you're not clear what exactly the benefits are and all. I feel it should be easy to know to register just to get the benefits and understand what Startup India is all about.
Because the government says that certain tax holidays, incentives are applicable to only DIPP registered startups. So, you know, that's a big condition.
No, even I am a private limited company, and, you know, I have all the documents, but I'm not sure how to go about it. So if that can be a little bit simplified and you know, made it more understandable for the people, that what benefit am I getting out of it. Secondly, since last 3 years, so my organization provides all the services into the learning and development space. And since last 3 years, I have been trying to find out a good investment or some financial or some funding, you know, to my organization. But every option that I look into, they do funding only for the IT related startups. Definitely there is a IT part in my startup also, but I am not a IT based startup. So does it mean that people who are into the startup which are not IT, which are not technology, which is, you know, very fast growing, definitely, they will not get any benefits or any funding?
You know, there
or
was,
anything?
anyone wants to talk about the fund of funds? There was a 10,000 crore fund of funds that, you know, so coming to you, they had spoken about how they want, but the disbursement has been poor. We're talking about less than 600 crores that has finally, of course, there's one school of thought that says the government shouldn't get into the space of investing. Of course, they're not doing it directly. It's a fund of funds that has to sort of this thing. So that also you would expect some clarity in terms of how much, because if the government intends to help startups raise funding and make it easier, it might as well do it in a more efficient manner.
Is there also anything for the women entrepreneurs in India specifically to, you know, help them grow? Because as you said, there are very less women entrepreneurs, and it is difficult to, you know, grow in this business. So I would definitely look forward from India government to hear something
some
on
sobs
that.
for women entrepreneurs too. For the fund of funds, you want to...
So I'm Narendra. I'm a CEO of a company called Hack Workspaces. We are a technology-enabled cafe co-working network. So definitely, regardless of what budget might come or go on, right? So executing the same to get it to reach to the general audience is the key to anything, right? So there has to be a clear transparency in what the government is doing. So there won't be any naysayers in terms of this happening or not. See, I see that last year, the SEBI registered startups, there was about 10,000 crores of investment that is gotten from the government, but just about 650 crores were rightly addressed to the target audience. It might be because of a lot of issues, right? It might be a lot of key indicators, but my point of view is that people are not aware in terms of what exactly is the pros and cons or the process itself to enable them to benefit from the plan the government has provided on a platform, right? So that reach is not available, firstly. And second thing is the flexibility for us to connect to the point of contact who can immediately address that. So how many government potential organizations are there to explain to the general public? So this is the idea of the plan which we have put forward in this budget to benefit a startup, right? So firstly, entrepreneurs themselves have a lot of things to do and carry, right?
Yeah, you're focusing on your business, ensuring you get that funding, customers, first set of customers.
And one idea about the current budget which I like is the idea of boosting the establishment of incubators and accelerators. So that's a very good idea which I would definitely love to talk about, right? So here what happens is a lot of entrepreneurs, there are a lot of things to take care of, starting from registering a company until filing a GST or getting a funding, so many things, right?
So it helps, if you talk about Startup India, also help startups start, and take off really.
So we have to just give them the direction, right? Because we don't have the time, right? On top of this, we have to do everything possible. Entrepreneurship itself is a huge risk, right? So taking that risk and challenge to our regular commitments and things like that, we have to also adhere to the policies of the government. We want to be a good citizen, at the same time be a good entrepreneur. So government has to lay some platforms to make it very flexible and transparent and at reach to the entrepreneur to follow what they want and also establish the benefits. So regardless of how many benefits you give, if it is not reaching the entrepreneurs or the general audience, there's no point in having such policies.
No, because there were announcements even last budget about digital transactions, helping them take off, incubation centers and all of that. But there has to be a follow-up in terms of how it's implemented and how it gets by. If you could pass it to the back, anything that you want to add, what do you expect this time? Or as an entrepreneur, a lot of them say, well, no more expectations, the government hasn't really done enough.
Right now, so I would agree with what Narayana was saying, right? The more incubation centers, the more accelerators there are, is much better and easier for startups to get started with and not worry about things like paperwork and stuff like that. So that's something I definitely agree with. And also, I think someone else was talking about this, but mutual funds and all that are just a new concept. I mean, people are just getting used to that concept, right? So, knocking off the long-term capital gains tax and all is definitely a good idea.
When it comes to incubators, it's about connecting not only where the access is in cities, but also tier 2 towns and smaller rural areas, because it also helps build a network, right? If you guys happen to work out of a co-working space like this, you're able to get a network, and if someone sitting in a smaller city can get that access, that would help. What are you looking forward to?
So my name is Rahul Goyal, and I'm CEO and the founder of Groomed In Solutions Private Limited. We are planning into the Biz in Box solution, which is like, it's very close to, we are trying to help the government to bring up the solution kind of a thing is there. So I have seen many people talking about the problems, what they're facing is like. So what I think is that, let me suggest some solutions to the government. If they can take and follow that, then probably that will be helpful for that. So the very first thing, as she told that she tried several times, and then she doesn't know that where is the problem, and then there. So what I would suggest the government is that, why not to have a helping center where one person is kind of tagged with one company, and they can guide from A to Z, saying that these are the things which are required, and it will be like, it will be a two things will be given like that. First of all, a person will be properly guided, and he will know all the informations, and he will also know that where he is falling, so that he can make the solution for that and come back to that.
A lot more clarity.
Lot more clarity. So the helping center kind of there. And the second thing what I have seen is that there are a lot of benefits to the, for example, US companies and to the other companies. So it is not
something to protect our desi.
Yes.
Startups.
So when you go to the particular thing, you say that no, this is possible only if you are a US based company. This is not for an Indian based company. So government of India should come into that thing and stand by and saying that yes, this is the thing that now you can also go and have the same facility which a US company has it.
So in terms of bridge that gap and ensure that Indian startups get some sort of a leeway when they look at market access. We have of course seen the likes of Amazon, Flipkart talk about the Desi Videsi battle and what an Indian company is. Cool. Later on also, if we should discuss about angel tax, probably we can come to you in a while.
Yeah, hi, my name is Kapil. I am CEO and founder at Transfunnel. So we are basically marketing automation consulting firm. So we are pretty much involved into export of services, right? So I'm completely agree with what Rahul has mentioned just now, right? You know, the intentions are more important than the actions, right? So I am completely agree that intentions are always been right. Since last 4.5 years, we have seen a lot of work has been trying to do, and basically they try to help people over there at the ground, right? But being the largest economy across the world, right? It's very difficult to get it to the last point. So which is not an easy job. So we cannot neglect that particular point. But having said that, like, of course, few things are pretty easy to do now, like registering for the MSME. It's like a one-day job and you got registered to the MSME, right? But coming back to the benefit side of it, so there's no central repository over here where you can see all the policies, how you can get the benefits around, right? We are working out from 3 particular states. So we have offices in Bangalore, Pune and Jaipur.
And you have to deal with those
every state has their different policies, and then gelling with those all different policies and coming across and basically the mining the benefits is very difficult. So there could be some central repository of the information system where founders can go and easily do that, right? From the IGST perspective, GST perspective, though it helped cutting off a lot of other taxes, but still you need a CA, because we do not have that much of time to gel with all those other things like covering up every aspect.
It's also cost factor, right?
Cost factor, right? And fund of fund, which you have mentioned, right? So in fact, it's been 4 years since I am working on this company, right? And we tried in the very first year to try to get that fund over there. It was a very lengthy process, a lot of documentation was required and other thing, and then finally we just gave up, right? It's not gonna happen, right? So that happened, but I wouldn't blame the government for that side of it. The ground staff who is working on the end goal, they also make sure that they are being helpful for the other person, right? If policies are coming from the top, and the ground
They
staff
have
is
to
not
trickle down at
exactly.
the
And the
end.
ground staff is over there is not trying to help over. Then what government can do on the other side of it? So there are a lot of things. Of course, being a largest economy, those problems will resist. So I think what I would recommend is like having those common policies across the states, so that if you understood the policy of the one state, you easily understood the
Yeah,
others.
also
Right?
define startup properly, right? We've seen so
Exactly.
many definitions of startup over the last 3 years. So just make it simple. Tell us if you're a startup or not.
Exactly.
And are we eligible for
Exactly.
what
In
comes
fact,
in?
the definition of the startup, if we'll ask for, every person has a different definition of startup, right? So that itself is a big difference over there.
My name is Uday, and I run a small procurement company in Bangalore, and we are based out of Gujarat. So once we came to Bangalore, we had different opportunities after the taxation portal came in, e-way bill system. It was ease of business, but as things got into place, okay, things got complicated. So there are different kind of taxation systems across Gujarat, which we still are not aware what procurement process will come across Bangalore. So there are micro taxation in Gujarat, which we don't know how it crosses over to Bangalore, and still we are dependent upon a company secretary or a CA to look into it to boost our profits. Okay, Kapil was mentioning about loan. Okay, so if a small company goes for a 50 lakh loan, we have a lot of documentation to produce, and if say a big jeweler goes for a 500 CR loan, okay, so they don't have to produce any documentation. So it's about what process, who prioritize who. Okay, we are also businessmen. Okay, we also earn money to the banks. Okay,
It's interesting. I lead the point to the entire controversy around angel investments, because initially when you start off, half of us don't get access to investors. We have our family, friends investing, and that is not covered by DIPP and the government. That is still supposed to be taxed at 30%, which means if you end up raising a crore at the start of your business, 30 lakh goes down as a tax, and we have thousands of entrepreneurs really battling notices. Is that a concern? Family offices, loans from friends, and all of that is not covered. That's how we start our business, right? Not everyone has an access to investors.
it's a concern, and it's like pulling us down. Rather than a concern, it's like 30% interest rate on first day. Okay, I'm not saying that they are taxing. It's like 30%. We are hiring an employee which is not present. Okay, so it's very simple. So there should be rebates. There should be incumbent cost deductions, or there should be a way out. I'm not saying, because there are big companies would take advantage if the government plays out a rule of 30%. Okay, I'm not saying to twist it, but I'm saying that when you place a label on a startup, okay, so there should be a different kind of amendment or an act which helps the company.
Yeah, give us those basic requirements that we want. We're not asking for a 10-year tax holiday,
Yes.
but a simpler initial start off. You want to pass the mic this side, and you want to weigh in on the angel tax issue?
Right. So in terms of angel investment itself as a whole, right? So any startup to take up a funding, so they have to go through a huge process. When you get in touch with an investor, right? Firstly, you're in an idea stage. He wants you to have a prototype of your product. Then you have a prototype. Then he wants you to have the initial customers. You have the initial customers. Then he wants to have a bigger chunk of customers. When you have that, he wants to look at the revenue and what's your exit strategy. There's so much. And firstly, you have to get in touch with the right investor, right? So there is no platform that helps us to directly get in touch with an investor. And most people, if I have an idea, a startup idea, if I have to approach an investor, for you to give me an appointment, to give you my pitch itself is a difficult task. Before that, I'm not going to ask you to sign an NDA, right? So that's the most difficult challenge every entrepreneur is facing today. It's like they want to shout out their idea to a huge pool of investors, so that at least a percentage would revert to that.
That could also
interest.
be misused.
Yeah, that can definitely be misused. Government has to look at the core concerns of an entrepreneur rather than the angel tax idea. Why is that angel tax idea? It's because they might misuse the opportunity. Let's say there's a wealthy landlord who has a lot of black money, and he wants to convert that into white. So the best option he looks at today is like, okay, let me invest into a startup, convert that money into shares, and that converting my black into white. So that's a clear idea why angel tax was invested. But they have to also look into the hassles and entrepreneur face. For whom is it?
Yeah, you
It
can't
is-
treat all the apples
Yes.
the same way,
Yeah,
right?
right. So there is a situation that comes to each one of us that we face. Not everyone is going to fall into the same bucket. The government has a perception that they might fall into. First, address the issues which we are already fallen into are in deep, right? So we have to give a helping hand to get us out of that deep throat, right? So then we can come into all of these issues. First, let's solidify ourselves and then look at paying taxes. First, let's make revenue and survive. Then we can look at doing all those additional items. I think.
You wanted to come in?
So in my opinion, all this talk about startups, we are talking about startups sitting here in Coworks. I think there is an enormously large amount of startups sitting in, Hubli and Dharwad and, where Faizabad. So this startup, this entire activity is not only meant for a coterie of people, of whom I think we are in the last rung. When we are talking about angel tax, we are talking about a 100 crore kind of investment or even a 10 crore. In my opinion, what I think we should also be concerned about is what are our own business models, where are we heading to? Because this is ultimately a race. And I think in this race, the ones who are smarter are going to win. So just to keep on expecting what the government of India is going to do for us, I think is a bit too far-fetched.
Yeah, we'll also have to see that basic concerns are. Closing comments quickly. Before that, let me have a quick show of hands, a few questions and a poll. How many of you feel that Startup India as a mission has been successful? How many of you feel it has been successful? Okay, half of them feel it has. How many of you feel the biggest concern for startups right now is the ease of starting up and shutting down? Is that the biggest concern that you all would agree? All right.
Shutting down never
Yeah. Ease of start is there.
Shutting down also, considering that you guys haven't thought of it, which is cool, but data clearly shows that 95% of the startups do not really go ahead and shut down.
One more suggestion I wanted to give to Government of India is that it will be better to hand over this decision to the people who are very smart on that part. Now,
get a lot of CEOs and all of that too.
That is there, and then they should give the power to the few banks so that they can pitch in and they will do the right job because they will take it as a business. Now, one thing is that what I wanted to say is that the rules and regulations for banks should be like this is there, because once I tried, they said, do you have a 3 years IT return? Man, I have just started a company and you're asking me 3 years of IT return? Sorry,
all of that has to be.
So that has to be tuned up so that the people can be like easier. So a Government of India can give them a checklist saying that for these startup, these are the things that you need to check on so that they get confirmed and they can move away.
Works well. I'm sorry, completely out of time on this edition. We'll catch up again sometime soon. So the big takeaways really is that entrepreneurs, of course, are keeping their eye on the budget. Hopefully, they want to see some announcements around ease of starting up, angel tax as an issue, tax holidays, long-term capital gains tax, also some concerns that they are asking. But largely, entrepreneurs want a sense from the government that they are willing to listen to them and implement changes that are not really working on the ground. Those really are the big takeaways from here. All eyes are now on the interim union budget to see what the finance minister finally has in store for all of us.